So thanks everyone for making your way here to this session today. Let me just gonna get us started. You should be seeing my screen already. So my name is Melissa Graham and I work for Rubin Observatory at the University of Washington in Seattle. And in particular, I lead the Rubin Pre-Operations Community Engagement Team, which we're going to be talking about in this session. So thanks for being here. Let's start with the usual friendly reminders that this meeting has a code of conduct. And if you experience or witness any violations of the code of conduct, please go to the Project and Community Workshop website where there's a tab for code of conduct. And in that tab, you'll find the names and contact information for our workplace culture advocates, which are the people that you contact to talk about violations to the code of conduct. Also, as a reminder, this session is being recorded. Recordings are posted the next day. You have a variety of ways to interact. So either in the Slack channel that is for this session, where you can post questions and we're watching for those questions. You can raise your hand in the Zoom, and you can also post in the Zoom chat to ask your questions. I have a couple of question breaks built into the presentation, but you can type into the Slack and the Zoom chat at any time. There are many members of the community engagement team here who can answer your questions sort of on the fly as I'm speaking. So many options there. So today for this session, we're going to cover the different communities that we're trying to engage, give you some starting points or maybe some ways to ramp up your learning journey with Rubin. Then we're going to talk about some of the variety of ways for engagement and support for science and give you a little tour of the community forum. And then we'll end with some of the currently open calls for input and engagement and talk a little bit about what's coming up in the future. So for context to this talk on engagement, let's start off with some definitions for the various communities that we're all a part of. The Rubin community encompasses anyone, anywhere interacting with the Rubin Observatory and its data products and services in any capacity. The science community is the subset of the Rubin community that does or is preparing to do scientific analyses with the LSST data products and services. The science collaboration members are the subset of the science community who have joined one of the LSST science collaborations. The Rubin Observatory staff are a subset of the Rubin community who work for Rubin in paid positions, and many are also active in the science community and are science collaboration members. And finally, we have the term data rights holders, which are the individuals with the right to access, analyze, and publish work on the LSST proprietary datasets as defined in the Rubin data rights policy, which is available at ls.sd/RDO-013. So next I want to go into a bit more detail about the science collaborations. There are 8. They cover a range of LSST science topics, as you can see in the right-hand column here, and they do a wide range of activities. The science collaborations provide expert advice and analysis to Rubin. They fundraise for their teams and their projects. They implement research inclusion practices. They work to train, educate, and engage the science community. And they collaborate on software development and precursor science in preparation for LSST. Science collaboration members benefit from a supportive and collaborative environment that places them in the best position to generate science with Rubin data. Information about how to join the science collaborations is available at this link here. And I'll note also that I posted a PDF of these slides to the this session's page in the PCW website, so you can go and grab that. So now that we have some context for the various communities and an understanding of the science collaborations, I want to tell you a bit about the Rubin Community Engagement Team, the CET. The driving purpose of the CET is to engage people from across the Rubin community, and especially within the science community, to maximize scientific productivity and excellence in their use of the Rubin LSST data products and services. The 6 current members of the CET all have Rubin-related scientific expertise, as well as experience and skills in areas related to engagement, such as collaborative research, documentation, and pedagogic tools. And many of them are here with us today, and I can see their videos are on. And so some of you can wave. Yes, great. Thank you. So to give this CET some context within the organizational structure for Rubin operations, notice in the chart at left that there are 4 main departments for Rubin operations. There's observatory operations, data production, system performance, and education and public outreach. And the system performance department in particular is responsible for ensuring that the LSST is on track to achieve its 10-year science goals. And it is made up of 4 teams: verification and validation, community engagement, survey scheduling, and systems engineering. So the CET is part of system performance because the scientific results produced by the community are a key success metric of the Rubin Observatory system, where the system refers to the overall end-to-end structure from the camera to the community's scientific journal articles and everything in between. So basically, if the science community's ability to produce results is hindered, the system is not performing. That's why CET is in system performance. So now I want to provide you with a clearer idea of what the CET will actually be doing to engage the community in science and ensure the end-to-end system is performing up to its potential. There are 3 main components of our community engagement model. First, to facilitate access to and analysis of the LSST data products and services by providing resources that are up to date and openly available to all communities, such as documentation, tutorials, and demonstrations, along with user forums for question and answer support. Second, to coordinate expertise within the Rubin community, both to understand and resolve issues as they arise, and to enable scientists to inform and contribute to future development of the LSST science pipelines and the Rubin Science Platform. Third, to sustain a self-supporting and collaborative community, and to do this in a scalable, equitable, and inclusive way when we have thousands of Rubin users from around the world with a wide variety of experience and expertise. At the moment, the CET is applying this model to a variety of activities and initiatives. This is a bit meta, but we used components of the model to create the model itself. This started with a community engagement discussion series where the community was welcome to attend virtual sessions in which we presented an early version of the model and collected feedback and input. And then the final document is now available at ls.st/rtn-006 at that link at the top right. Our other ongoing activities include supporting Data Preview 0 participants, making upgrades to the community forum, running Stack Club, and preparing for the project and community workshop, and now helping to run the PCW as well. Throughout all of this, we're developing and implementing proactive strategies for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we're looking forward to adding a research inclusion postdoc to our team in the near future. The CET is helping the Science Advisory Committee to stand up the Rubin Users Committee, and you should hear more about that in the coming months. And then over the next year or 2, we'll be ramping up activities related to user acceptance testing for the Rubin Science Platform, the Science Collaboration Liaison Program, citizen science programs, and user-generated data products. So it's a lot happening now and a lot coming in the near future as well. So the term self-supporting community was raised a couple of slides ago, and I want to go into a bit more detail about what that term means. The CET and the science collaborations have a shared desire to build a space for you to do great science while being yourself, where you are given respect and acknowledgement for the work you contribute, and where you can work within a community in which information is distributed and shared without bottlenecks or barriers. Essentially, a self-supporting community is one in which people are able to help each other, and in our case, help each other with science. So I want to emphatically acknowledge that the LSST science collaborations are already a community of very engaged scientists who actively welcome and support each other. The science collaborations will continue to be the first place that many scientists turn to for scientific support and engagement. At every opportunity, the CET recommends joining one or more science collaborations as the best way to get involved in preparing for LSST science. Most of the CET activities that I mentioned so far are designed to engage and support individual scientists. And the science collaborations also have many similar or parallel initiatives going on right now. But I want to point out that in addition, the CET directly supports the science collaborations like as a whole via initiatives like the DP0 New Friends program, Stack Club, and the Rubin Liaison program. So that kind of gives us an introduction to community and engagement in the context of Rubin and Rubin pre-operations. And before we start digging into like where to find documentation and stuff like that, I just want to pause to see if there are any questions on the material I just reviewed. That can come via Zoom chat, via Slack chat, or by using the raise hand feature in Zoom. Oh, thank you, Jeff, for the link to the Slack and the Zoom chat. Good idea.
Yeah, nothing in the Slack channel.
Okay, well, questions can come on that content later on as well. You don't have to ask them now. We'll have more breaks for questions coming up. So let's talk a bit about either starting or ramping up your learning journey with Rubin. Let's see. Okay, so you want to start, or maybe you've already started, but you're looking to enhance learning or your participation in Rubin Observatory or your level of engagement. I'll just say again, the science collaborations are the best place to start or ramp up your learning journey. And I'll mention again that sometimes we get questions like, oh, I want to join a science collaboration, but I don't know anything about Rubin, or how do I learn stuff so that I can join? You can just join. If you're interested in that kind of science, you can go look at the different science collaborations. They each have differently formatted application forms, which usually is statements about what it is you want to do or what you want to contribute, either now or during Rubin operations. So it's not, don't feel like you need to be down with all the lingo or like know what a DIA object is before joining a science collaboration or anything like that. So, so the science collaborations are a great place to start. And now I just want to go over, if you do want to find sort of more technical information about Rubin, I'm going to give you some of the links and some of the places to go to access that information. So let's start with lsst.org/scientists. That's the main web page right now for scientists with information about Rubin Observatory. This is what the page looks like. If you went there, in the left-hand column there, you'll find things like a link to a searchable glossary where you can input any term that you might come across and find a definition. You'll find that link for the science collaborations there as well. Links for the alert brokers, including links to all of the individual broker websites. There's a link there for the community forum. That's where you go if you have questions about Rubin. We're going to cover that in detail later in this session. You'll find links to key numbers. That's where you find things like what's the pixel scale, what's the throughputs for the filters, that kind of stuff. You find it from there. Under the pubs, docs, images, and videos link, you'll find many different types of recorded talks that exist there for you to peruse and look at anytime. And then you'll see down at the bottom there, there's a place where you can subscribe to the science mailing list. And we primarily use that to make announcements for opportunities or events. So whenever Rubin has an open engagement opportunity where we're looking for specific kinds of feedback, that goes to the science mailing lists. Announcements for the PCW, which you are already attending, they go out to the science mailing list, that kind of thing. So you'll find all that there at lsst.org/scientists. It's a good first starting spot. If you're looking for sort of really basic entry-level videos, I mean, some of the videos that are posted from the last webpage I just showed you can be quite technical, but if you're looking for like shorter ones or introductory level ones, I want to point you to the Rubin Observatory YouTube page, where they have lots of playlists on many different things, but in particular, the community engagement team has put together a playlist of very introductory level presentations that cover mostly focus on like jargon and terms and just basic concepts in things like survey strategy, data products, the Rubin Science Platform, the core science goals of Rubin, that kind of thing. So this is a great place to point. It's where I even point my students to as well as this YouTube. It's a good place for that. It's very, very entry level. So you can find all that there on YouTube. If you're looking for Rubin Observatory technical documents and software, then we point you to lsst.io, which if you go to that website, you would land on, it looks like the screenshot at left here. And pretty much you can put sort of any kind of search term into that bar, and you'll find all of the Rubin sort of internal documentation about that search term. Like if you're looking for our internal documents on differential chromatic refraction, you could put that in a search term and you'd find all our DMTNs on that, for example, which was the example I was trying to show you here as well. That if you want to know about difference imaging, for example, you can put in a search for that and you can find various internal documents at lsst.io. The document that would be the single most useful document for most people, and most of the questions that I get about Rubin Observatory and the future data products, the answer is almost always in the data products definitions document, which we call the DPDD for short. It's available at ls.st/dpdd, and it is a giant document, but it's also pretty navigable and pretty searchable. So you can open it up if someone's using a term like DIA source and you're like, well, I forget what that is again. You can come to the DPDD and find it pretty easily. It's even right there in a title heading for section 3.3.1. So it's a really good resource. In the future, we will probably be reformatting this to be a little more user-friendly and even more searchable than a massive PDF. But I wanted to show this because most of the questions I get, even I go to the DPDD, I find the answer, and then I tell people. So it is there for you. The other place to go for technical information is pipelines.lsst.io. This is all of the LSST science pipelines documentation, but this is probably only relevant for you if you're actively trying to use the pipelines to process, for example, data that you have from another telescope. A lot of people use it for HSC data, for example. Some people are trying to use it for DECM data, stuff like that. So all of that documentation is here, but it's not something you need to like go and read to prepare. No. Only if you're trying to actively use the pipelines would you refer to this. And then I think this is the last piece of sort of last central place for documentation that I wanted to point you is towards our documentation hub for DP0 for the first phase of Data Preview 0, dp0-1.lsst.io. This again is only, the content is only going to be relevant to you if you're actively participating in Data Preview now, Data Preview 0 right now, but it would give you a very early and minimal impression of what data release documentation is going to look like in the future when we sort of transition to operations and have real data releases. So that was just sort of a cover of the sort of the basic places to go to look for information about Rubin. And I'm going to sip it for another 10 to 15 seconds and see if questions come in. Oh, I had a question. Oh, if you just go to ls.st, nothing is there. It's just our link shortener. So you can't go to ls.st and see all the stuff. ls.st is just a shortener. So probably if you do that, like you just see this, you don't see anything. You always have to tell it where to give it something after ls.st/dpdd, for example. It's just a shortener. It's not an actual website. It's a good point. I never encountered someone who went to ls.st. Yes. Well, thank you for asking that question. We can at least clarify now that ls.st won't take you anywhere. It's just the start of a shortener. Oh, cool. You created a summary of the DPDD. That looks handy. Thank you, Brent. Yeah.
Thanks, Melissa. If I could just add something.
Please.
Hi, this is Leanne. Thanks, Brant. That looks very interesting, and it's certainly, I think, for me, it's interesting to see from what you've written there what parts of the DPDD are most interesting to people in science collaborations, and what parts I think we need to bring more attention to or to make easier to access in the DPDD. We are going to undertake a bit of a restructuring of the DPDD. In particular, I think we're going to pull out the detailed database schema looking tables and move them into something else so that we have the more descriptive text. And yes, I understand that the content is out of date, but the way you've structured it helps me to understand what it is science collaborations want to find most.
Cool, thanks everyone. Looks like our docs related questions have cooled, so we'll keep moving, but continue to ask docs related questions in Slack or Zoom chat. Let's talk about a bit about engagement and support for science. So we're about to cover community forum, open calls for engagement, and then take a look towards the future at the end. So I want to start with the Rubin Community Forum. So before I was emphasizing this, building a self-supporting community where people are able to help each other, and having a central place for communications and an infrastructure that's built around allowing people to communicate is important for that. And in addition, for our community engagement model to be scalable and sustainable, we need to build a thriving online forum that enables thousands of LSSD scientists to crowdsource solutions from a deep reservoir of expertise. So the Rubin Community Forum is based on the Discourse platform, and it enables both passive engagement, such as browsing, searching, and reading, as well as active engagements, such as asking, sharing, and responding. The Community Forum is the venue by which Rubin provides support to the science community, primarily in the dedicated support category that you can see in the screenshot, which currently has subcategories for Data Preview 0 and the Rubin Science Platform. The Community Forum is also used for news, workshop planning, program coordination, and intercollaboration interaction. A few of the science collaborations also use it for their internal communications, but some don't, because they're already pretty well set up with, for example, Confluence or Slack. Most of the content of the Community Forum is publicly visible, so even if you don't have an account, please feel free to 100% go read content, browse around, but I will also say that accounts are free and they're unlimited and they're pretty easy to set up. So please also consider signing up for an account. So what I want to do next is actually take you to the Community Forum and show you some things. So this is something where you can follow along. You can, in any browser that you have open, just open a new tab and go to community.lssd.org. And it should take you here to the main page. And I wanted to, so actually before I sort of launch into showing you a bunch of stuff, I will say also as I go, feel free to unmute and interrupt, like, can you show me that again? Or wait, I missed that step or something. We'll try to keep everyone on board as we go. And also the CET members that are here, when I miss stuff, you can unmute and say, wait, you missed this cool feature or anything like that. Okay. So here you land on the main page, and I wanted to point out that there is now this banner up here, which you can collapse and expand, that has a lot of really sort of useful information and at least tells you sort of a little bit more about what the community forum is. So over on the left under getting started, there's a lot of forum resources like the user guide, the guidelines for participating in community, a lot of how-to topics, just stuff that tells you about how to use the community forum can be found there on the left. In the center column of the banner, we have some of the most popular categories and places to go to look for information and to see what people are talking about in the forum. And then over on the right here, we have some external links. So you'll see that the first one there is the link back out to the lsst.org/scientists page, which I told you about before. And then a couple of other external pages that take you places. I believe the bottom one takes you to lsst.io, for example, the technical documentation. Oh, Greg, I see your hand is up.
Yes, I just wanted to comment here that a number of people can actually join in and then you can post, but you don't have to join in. You can actually read the community forum without joining in if you want to sort of get your toes wet at first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of it is publicly viewable that you can see even if you're not logged in or if you don't have an account. Yeah, and I believe the banner is one of those things that you can see. So also on this homepage, the landing page, you have the banner up at the top, and you see there's two main columns below. One is all of the categories that we have within the community forum, and that's on the left, all the categories. And then over on the right, it's basically a chronological list of the most recent topics that people have posted, either new or made a reply within that topic. It's posted over here. So this is just the most recent ones, but if you are an occasional visitor to the community forum and your question is more like, I just want to see what people have been talking about over the last week or so, you can instead change your view. So right now it's latest is actually the default view, so you see the latest post, but you could change to top as well. And that would take you here where you can change the time scale for the top post. So if you sort of, are here like once a month or once a week, you can change this. And now posts aren't just listed by the order in which they were posted on the site, but they're what has had lots of views. So you can see here that a lot of people have been looking at the post about the in-kind contributions at the PCW. You can see that has like 76 views. And so you can do things like this and see what's been popular posts over the last little while. A lot of people talking about using Conda and Python, for example, are there as well. So, and at any time, if you've sort of been browsing around like this and you want to go back to the main landing page, it's the VRC Rubin Observatory logo up at the top left. Clicking on that will always take you back to home. So that kind of describes the main home page, main landing page, banner, categories, most recent posts. And from here, you can browse through the different categories. So for example, I'm interested in doing science. So I come to the science category and maybe photometric redshifts in particular. So we can go there and see a bunch of posts where people talk about photoz's for Rubin Observatory. In particular, there was recently a call for letters of recommendation from people about what kind of photoz's we should adopt for the object catalog. That's posted here in a couple of examples. So it's pretty findable, pretty browsable when you come here and you can browse the different categories. Instead, if you're looking for something a little more specific, it's the magnifying glass up here at the top corner is the search term. So for example, if you're looking for the observing strategy simulations from version 1.7 because you want to work on survey strategy stuff and you heard there was some new simulations, you heard in a talk, I think they're called, you can search for FBS 1.7, which I think is the survey simulations release 1.7. And then you can find that here, survey simulations version 1.7 release. If you're like that other people that were talking about Conda and Python, and you're looking for posts about that, you can come and do a search. Now it's thinking about it. You can find, and there's that popular post again that we saw before about people wanting to learn how to use Conda and Python. So that's there as well. So that covers browsing through categories, searching for particular topics, just checking for questions. I go, none, okay. So it covers searching for keywords. And so now making and posting a topic and a reply. So let's find a post that probably has some replies. Well, first of all, say you had a question about what kind of data products are going to be released from the prompt pipeline or something. You could come here to the science category and you have a question about the LSSD data. So you could go to the data Q&A. This is where you can ask science questions about LSSD data products and the science platform. So you could come to this category and you can see people have been asking things like, what's the scene like for different bands? What happens to bright stars that are saturated? How big are the cutouts in the alerts? This is where people come and they ask all these kinds of questions. And the way you would do that is you would start a new topic in this particular category. When you click on that new topic button, you can type your title right in here, and then you would ask your question just in the body of the new topic, and you would post it. So a question as your title, and then a couple more details about your question here, and you would post it, and then people would post replies. So let's check out this one on bright star saturation. So I can see it had lots of views. And so here someone has asked a question about nonlinearity near saturation. They wanted to know more. So they posted this as an original topic post, and then other people have come and posted replies and tried to help that person answer their question. And that's pretty much just that's how it works. From here, you can like other people's responses. And yeah, so that's how getting help in the community forum works. Pretty straightforward. The other thing I wanted to show you was notifications. So myself as Rubin staff, I want to be notified when people ask questions in the data Q&A category specifically. So I am set to be watching this category. You can set your status. Watching and getting notifications means that you can kind of set what that means for yourself in your user profile. For me, it means I get an email when someone posts something in a category that I'm watching. But sometimes if you're in the community forum, you can also get little pop-up messages that appear in the upper right corner as well when someone posts in a category that you're watching. And the way you set your notification status for a given category, you can see this bell icon over here to the right. And if you click on that, it shows you several options for your status, where you can get emailed every topic and every reply. Or for me, I just want to be notified at every new post. So it's like every time someone asks a question here, I'm notified so that I can come and help answer it. So it's handy if you like to set your notifications and be emailed about things. The default is not to send you lots of emails from community forums. So it's an opt-in process, only if you want that kind of thing. The other thing I wanted to review as well is show you how to access your user profile. So we've sort of covered main landing page, navigating through the different categories, posting topics, searching using the magnifying glass up here, but then your picture is also a place where you can navigate. So here I have all of my notifications that posts in categories that I'm watching, things like that. There's a bookmarks tab that I don't use, but you can add things to your bookmarks. So if there's a particular topic that was really useful for you and you want to come back to it later, you can bookmark it. There's also a direct messaging capability within Community. So you can see these are my direct messages here. And if you double click on it again, it takes you to an inbox. So you can send messages to people within Community really easily. And then the other thing you have access to as a user is your profile, of course. So you can set all of your preferences like this. You can set your picture. All of that is available by clicking on your profile picture at the upper right. And you can see down here, you can set a lot of your notification options for categories and stuff like that is all in here. The very last thing that I wanted to cover is moderation. So if you we have a code of conduct for the project and community workshop, and that code of conduct extends to all communication and activities, including the Rubin Community Forum. And there's a built-in function for flagging posts that violate the guidelines in terms of use of the community forum, and it's pretty simple to use. There are also a couple of posts in the meta category about how and why to flag a post. So up here in all the listed categories, news, support, and science, it's all pretty straightforward. It's where you find a lot of conversations on technical things. We have the science collaborations category, commissioning, data management, mostly used by the data management team. Then down here, there's this meta category, and this is where you would go to ask questions about how to do things in the forum. Like you want to write a nice post with like some nice formatted LaTeX math, or you're having trouble uploading a document and attaching it to your post. Anything that's about using the forum itself, you go to the meta category and you can ask questions there. And we have a bunch of topics in the meta category already to tell you about how to use various functions and features of the community forum. And one of them is about flagging. So this is what I wanted to find, how and why to flag a post. And so there are a couple of reasons why you might want to flag a post, and you would do that using a little flag icon that shows up under the post. So for this one, for example, under this post, you can see this flag icon right here. And if you click on it, it doesn't do anything right away. It gives you a set of options of things you can do. So you can flag a post for it being off topic. If it's inappropriate, so that's where if it's violating the code of conduct. If it's spam, like if it looks like an advertisement, then you can flag it as that. Or if it's something else and you think there's something wrong with the post and you're not really sure and you want one of the forum moderators to take a look at it, you would choose that as well. And after you flag the post and choose one of these options, then it is seen by the community forum moderators, which are most of the community engagement team, plus some other Rubin staff who have been working in the forum for a really long time and understand how to moderate posts. I believe if posts get, it's either 3 or 5 flags from members, the post is automatically hidden, or even just one flag from a moderator will automatically hide the post. So that's how you can get, offensive material getting taken down right away, basically, as it can get hidden immediately by helping to flag the post. So we do encourage use of that flagging function. When you flag something, moderators, we can see who flagged things because it's kind of like we're getting a message from you saying that you flagged the post, but other people cannot see that you flagged the post. And in particular, the person whose post you flagged doesn't know you flagged the post. So it's mostly anonymous in most cases. So that covers like really the core functionality and like the main things that you would need to know to engage via the community forum. And I'm gonna pause again for questions or from other people who use the forum, things that I missed that you find really handy and useful. Okay, seems like there aren't any questions about the community forum. You can keep poking around in there. And if you do end up with questions, either put them in the meta or you can feel free to send me a direct message at any time. That's fine as well for questions. All right. Well, have fun in the community forum. Use it, post, read things, engage. Let's go. Back to my slides. And I covered everything that I wanted to cover for you. So let's move on a bit and, oh, right. So I did want to point out in specifically the categories that are really dedicated to Q&A. So the support category as a whole it's primarily used to support current use of LSSD software and data. Rubin staff watch these, as I just told you. We see the questions here and we provide answers. Under the science, the data Q&A, that's the one I showed you how to use for any and all questions about data products, about the DPDD, something you can't find in the DPDD, all those kinds of questions can go in data Q&A. We're also watching that category to make sure that we answer questions as timely as possible. And then the other category that's like developed for Q&A is the statistics Q&A category that's also under science. And that's one that's run by the Informatics and Statistics Science Collaboration. And they look forward to answering any questions you might have or helping you develop like your machine learning tools for your LSSD science, that kind of thing. And it's in these three categories that we have activated the solved by feature so that you can quickly find the answer in a long threaded discussion. So it'll often happen that someone will ask a question, post it as a new topic, and then people from Rubin and also from the science community start posting answers and we piece together a solution, or people say, oh, I don't know the answer to that, but you might find it here, and so on. And a thread can get kind of long, and then either someone from Rubin staff will like summarize the answer, or there will be a single reply that really encapsulates the entire answer to that person. And it might be pretty far down in a thread. And either the person who posted the question originally or any of our forum moderators can mark a particular reply as a solution, and it'll float up to the top. So for you as a person who's browsing the community forum and you come across this topic because you have the same question and you're looking for the same answer, it's a very handy feature to have that solution float up to the top for you. So those are the three categories that are, I mean, you can ask questions anywhere, but those are the three categories where we're actively watching for questions to come in. Okay, so I want to just talk a little bit about some of the open engagement opportunities that are happening right now, which I think depending on what sessions you've been at this week, you've probably encountered most of these already, but it does depend what your science is and what sessions you're in. So one of the open engagement opportunities is, of course, survey strategy. The Rubin survey scheduler team has a call out for metrics that evaluate different observing strategies. And here I've used our ls.st shortener to link mostly to the relevant community topics for these various calls so that you can easily link to them and find them. Also related to survey strategy, the science collaborations have organized an app.js focus issue on survey strategy, so you could write a paper and contribute it to that focus issue. As you probably heard in the plenaries and the many commissioning related sessions at the PCW, there's an open announcement of opportunity to participate in commissioning and contribute work time to the commissioning effort. The letters of interest submission dates are due October 1st of this year, and you can see the full description of this announcement of opportunity for commissioning in the document. It's a sitcom technical note where the SIT, remember, was systems integration and testing. The COM stands for commissioning and the TN stands for technical note. So it's a sitcom TN number, and that's one of the internal documents that you would also find if you went to lsst.io and searched for it, but you can go directly to that particular document using the short link right there. Another open engagement opportunity has to do with photometric redshifts and an open call for letters of recommendation for photometric redshifts. And in particular, this call is about helping the Rubin data management team to define and generate the LSST object PhotoZ data products. The letters that we're looking for here are very short, very qualitative. We're just looking for people to describe their science needs for LSST PhotoZ and or advocate for a particular estimator that would be really good for their science. So we're looking to collect community input to PhotoZs that way. The EPO team invites anyone to try some of their data interactions at any time with this link here. And they also have an open survey to help EPO build a community of scientists that are interested in outreach, so you can participate with them in that way. And then we also have, as an open engagement opportunity, the Stack Club, where Stack Club, so Stack is short for the LSST science pipelines. It sort of refers to that software stack, it's a colloquial term. But in Stack Club, it's all science collaboration members who are building Jupyter Notebook tutorials for using the LSST science pipelines. So that's a couple of the open engagement activities that I could think of right now to add to this slide. So I just want to pause in case I missed any that someone wants to bring forward. Okay, those were the top 5 in my mind of things that like open calls for engagement from Rubin that exist right now. So let's look a bit towards the future. So you saw, if you were in the operations plenary on Tuesday morning, you saw a bit about the coming data previews and what the timeline is like for that and what they will be. So starting with data preview 0, which is all simulated data provided by the desk. The first phase of DP0, called DP 0.1, is underway already. But DP 0.2, the second phase, watched for a call for applications to participate that will come out early next year. And that call will be posted on community and sent to the science mailing list and basically advertised as broadly as we can for more people to come and participate in data preview 0 with the simulated data. And then looking further down the road, there will be 2 more data previews in the lead up to operations. The first one, data preview 1 or DP1, will feature data released from the commissioning camera or ComCam, which if you remember from the plenaries is just like a single raft, so very small camera that goes on first. And then data previews 2 or DP2 will be data from the full LSST science camera that will be used for like all the science verification and validation and stuff, but also released to people for use and for preparation for the eventual data release 1 that will come in operations. So all of these data previews, all the access will be via the Rubin Science platform. Right now, access is limited for data preview 0, but it's going to continue to increase throughout the data previews. And as I mentioned, all the calls for participation will be advertised as broadly as possible as we go. So even if you don't have time to work on Rubin stuff now, there will be many, many sort of onboarding, ramping up learning opportunities to come in the future. So that ends the content that I wanted to provide you with in this session. And we have a good 10 minutes now for any and all questions about anything that I presented.
There's one very nice accolade in the Slack channel.
Yes, Jovan, I think maybe they're referring to the first slide about communities, but I'm not sure.
May I jump in with words? Hi, I'm Charles Liu. Hi, Melissa.
Okay.
Thank you. Hello. By the way, yeah, this has been a great introduction. Yeah, as you know, I'm on the SAC, so I've been sort of following all this carefully, and so this is great. Well done. My question is sort of philosophical, I guess, and sort of with my SAC hat on, a little bit as a scientist hat. If a new scientist were interested in becoming part of the LSST community overall and get involved, would it be fair to say that the CET should be their first point of contact, or is it the science collaborations, in your opinion?
Yeah, I would expect most people to go towards the science collaborations first, but I mean, it sort of depends what they wanted to do exactly. So if someone was coming and they're like, I don't really know how to get started, I don't know which science collaboration to join, that's something the CET could definitely help with. If that's sort of where they're starting from, if they're starting with like, I have this particular like photometric classification code that I want to get help, you know, making my simulated data very LSST-like and training my classifier, then that would be something that's probably more aligned with the activities of the transients and variables stars science collaboration. So it does kind of depends where they're coming from. There's no, either would be a fine first point of entry. I mean, they come to the CAT, you email me, I help you get started. That's fine for now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a philosophical point, which I find interesting, because as you know, there are some general feelings among the science collaborations, not really quite sure, right? I myself think that the CET is a great first point of contact, generally speaking, for everything LSST. And especially I'm imagining, for example, people at a small institution or not exactly in the mainstream of the LSST science, really wanting someone like a guide like that. Almost like a help desk to some extent, the first point of email, hello. In that case, the CET provides a very important role where if someone might not feel comfortable just going straight to a science collaboration saying, hello, I'd like to be part of this. So in that sense, all of these resources that you provided are great for that. Is there a way to, is there, amongst all that you presented, is there one like email, one web page that the first contact person of wanting to be an LSST person should go?
You know, there is like a general, you might find yourself at a single point of contact. I believe that goes to the communications team. So I think, I can't remember where you find that exactly, maybe under about, but if you search around, I think you would find yourself at like a single point of contact for LSST, and it goes to the communications team because it's really for everyone, like public, literally anyone. And so they would see someone come in and email that link, and they'd be like, oh, this is the scientist. So they would probably point them at the community engagement team. But I always do try to emphasize that the science collaborations are completely welcome and a great place to start for people who really don't know anything about Rubin, and that you do not have to like know stuff about Rubin or get in touch with any Rubin staff first. You can go as a new person straight to the science collaborations. I always try to emphasize that. Yeah.
Great, thanks. Yeah, that's the information that I would want to know to, as the SAC member, when someone comes to me and says, hey, who do I talk to get involved? You know, that kind of thing, especially from someone, like I said, who's not necessarily the mainstream research one type institutions, you know, where to go. So anyway, there's a huge amount here, which is really terrific. And the goal is to get them to feel like they can get in there without being stressed out about too much else. That kind of
thing. Exactly. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Let me chime in here. I think that there is this new program called The Friends, which pairs newcomers with people who are already parts of science collaborations. And that might be a really great way for somebody to at least get engaged a little bit. Maybe Melissa can comment on more on that.
I could. It's a very specific Data Preview 0 related program. So it has a very sort of specific use. But if it goes well, we could certainly expand it in the future. Yeah.
Thanks. Well, of course, Parker, you would say that, right? We have a lot in common. It's in the chat, just you know, Parker Choice just said, good question, but that's just because we're both in the Astronomical Society of New York and involved with a lot of small schools that have maybe one or two astronomers who are excited about LSST, but might feel a little hesitant to approach one of the science collaborations right away. Is that right, Parker? I don't want to put words in your mouth. You should just jump in.
No, that's good. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, it's pretty much always the only astronomer in the department kind of a thing, and nobody here. But luckily, we have a community in New York State. Yes.
Yeah, we're definitely trying to find more ways to lower this perceived barrier, because we know that it's there. People are reporting that they're feeling this perceived barrier of either not knowing how to get started or feeling like it's too much or too hard. And so do try to make like a lot of entry levels, like a lot of points of entry, a lot of ways to different ways to get started, not just a single way.
Good.
Yeah, which brings up a good point, Melissa. The community engagement team being very active as well as sort of passive. Like you provide a service, but you're also emailing your friends and your colleagues and all the different institutions saying, hey, we're here, do this. That probably will take a good part of the next year, right? Before things move to operations for people to start feeling like, well, maybe I can get involved. Right now, there's probably a bunch of people who are like, well, if it's still just simulated data, I'm not sure if I can jump in yet, but they need to be mentally softened to some extent to be able to be receptive when the science, you know, spigot starts getting turned on.
Yeah, that's another thing we're really aware of as well, is not like we do want to provide a lot now and be very engaging and welcoming and encouraging new people to get on board, while also not giving the impression like you got to start now, you're missing out on stuff. Because if you're not starting now, that is also totally fine. There's lots of time to get started. And I'll also say now, like the things that are on offer for Data Preview 0, it's such an early look at what things will be like later, that things will evolve in that time. So you will like have to continue to sort of learn, and things will look different later. So it's not really the case like you have to start years in advance to learn everything you need to know to use the data when operations come. And try to avoid giving that impression as well, because as we evolve our community engagement model and the data products and how you access them and use them, things will continue to get easier. So there's some sort of like waiting is fine. Waiting doesn't make it harder necessarily. So.
Right. Thank you so much, Melissa. Appreciate it.
Okay, I think that covers all the questions. So I'm going to go ahead and thank you all for coming today and for engaging during the session. And feel free to reach out if you have any further questions or concerns. We'd be happy to take them. And thanks to the other CE team members who were here to help. Thanks very much.